You're watching Detroit on Deck. Here are your hosts, Dave Cesefske and Josh Clark.
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Detroit on Deck. Dave Cesefske, Josh Clark. Josh, got a big topic to kind of kick off the show, but first off, man, got to see how you're doing, man. What's going on?
Man, doing good, brother. Doing good. You know, all things good on this side. Just working, taking care of the kids, and enjoying life a little bit.
Love it, man. Love it. Myself, I just got back from covering some sports here in Northwest Ohio, so having a good time. It's tournament time in high school, doing some basketball. But one thing, if we learned about today, according to Duke coaches, you cannot storm the court. Kyle Filipowski, he gets hurts his ankle. If you haven't seen the video, do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube, watch it. Really looks like he clotheslined somebody. We've had that situation happen, and then we've had the Caitlin Clark situation happen. I love Caitlin Clark. I will say a little dramatized. I don't think the athletes, obviously they don't want these kids out there, but it's a little worse because it's when these teams beat you. You're a little bit sour, a little bit extra sour. Both of those teams, what did those players have in common? They were on the losing team.
They both lost. Yeah.
Right. So you get a little bit sour when that happens. You love when your team wins a game and they storm the court. It's a great moment, right? But I don't know about you. I'm curious your opinion. I love it. It's always been a part of the game. Is it a little bit dangerous? Yeah, but if you're an athlete, go right over to your sideline. It doesn't usually end in injury. But unless you get 20, 30 security guards in there, you're not stopping it.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. We agree there. Like, I love the concept of a good court storming.
Yeah.
I do agree there needs to be some type of, preventable measures in place to avoid the injury tactic. So from that standpoint, I do feel for Kyle Filipowski, and that's hard to say as a Carolina fan. He's a Dookie, but
you want to play the best players, right?
I definitely understand, John Shire's frustration after the game. That's his best player that went down tournament times.
Of course.
Right around the tournament times, right around the corner with the ACC tournament, and then obviously, the big dance.
Of course.
You definitely want your star healthy going into it. But yeah, according to, what I've seen, it's just a high ankle sprain is what they're, describing it as. So
yep.
We'll see tomorrow, I guess, what it really turns out to be, or if it was, like you said, kind of some dramatics. But yeah. It's part of the college game. You know what I mean? These kids go to college for 4 years. Like, let them live it up. If you don't want it to happen, guess what? Do better, play better.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Like, it's always coming from Duke, it seems too, right? Like Coach K, it was like a boomer thing, right? Like old man, and it's like he was not for it. But you think about his background. He's from Army. He coached Army. He's a little bit more of a structured dude. He hates things like that. Boo-hoo. I mean, I don't really like Duke at all. I think we can agree on that, right? You being a Tar Heels fan. I'm a Kentucky Wildcat fan, but I just don't like Duke. Never have, never will. Doesn't mean I don't respect them because they're incredible. They've done a lot of great things. But listen, as a Carolina fan, for you want to play the best players. So you want him in that game, right? You want to beat the best team available. But if he's not available, it certainly helps you guys, right?
No,
Armando Bacot's playing out of his mind right now for you guys, and it's about time he's put it all together this year. You guys got some players, man. Well, North Carolina is back.
No, and this team could even be better if Caleb Love.
Oh my gosh, it's like they didn't want it.
If he would have decided to stay, that would have been 20 points right there. Puff Johnson transferred out to Penn State.
Yeah, Caleb Love is killing it right now with Arizona.
Yeah, so this team could be even better. It's kind of like the Michigan situation. It's kind of like the Michigan situation, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, the thing they had Caleb Love.
They're so bad, but it's also because they expected Caleb Love there. They also, up until the 12th hour, Hunter Dickinson was still there.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Those two players alone, you have to change up everything because those were the focal points of that offense.
Well, so let's think about it like this, okay? Michigan is so bad. Think about if Jet came back. Think about if they also had
Kobe
Hunter
Buffkin.
Dickinson, Buffkin, right? And then they keep Love. Dude, that right there is a team that's going to be really good and perhaps win the Big Ten. You never know.
Even without Love, you return Dickinson, Buffkin, and Jet. They're the favorites.
Exactly. And it was kind of weird to me because Juwan has, obviously he's got NBA roots, right? So he knows a lot about that. And it's like, I'm sure he heard, okay, Jet's going to be a first round pick. And that's great. But if you want a long career, maybe it's not all about being a first round pick. We know that, right? You
Right.
can be a first round pick and wash out.
Be out of the league in 4 years once your rookie deal's up.
Thank you. And Jet Howard got a lot to work on in his game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially as a freshman, like, he was a good scorer, but that was about it.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't even really say good scorer. He was a
inconsistent.
He was a great 3-point shooter, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, like, he was kind of weak on defense. Like,
agreed.
His mid range was non-existent. Not that they shoot those in the NBA anymore, but
yeah.
So there was a lot for him to work on.
I will say this though. Going off topic, but staying with this a little bit before we switch here, is Hunter Dickinson, I believe, has actually helped his draft stock. Because at Michigan, it was like, okay, he's a good player, man, but he's really slow, and does he work in the NBA? And, like, I think what he's done this year in Kansas, I personally think he's a guy that could make the league. And is he a rotation guy? Yeah. But I really think he's helped his draft stock. I could tell by your face you disagree. I think he's done nothing but help his draft stock.
I know. I always thought he was going to be drafted. I don't think he necessarily helped his draft stock. What would have helped his draft stock is working on his foot speed. He's still slow as heck.
He always going to be slow, man.
And the NBA is about up and down now. He's scoring 100, 140, 150 points a night. Like, you got to be conditioned. You got to be able to move your feet. Like, just imagine him trying to guard Embiid. Imagine him trying to guard Cat. Imagine him trying to guard. You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys are going to just basically just use elementary type moves on him, like jab steps. You know what I mean? To get around him. Because they know he's so slow.
No, what Hunter Dickinson is really just a rotation, if that, end of the bench type of guy. But is he an NBA player? I still believe he is. I don't think he's a first round pick. And a few years ago, he was a first round pick. I didn't agree with it, but I was with you. He needed to get quicker. And I think NBA scouts saw that, and they gave him some advice, and they said, you might as well stay, man, because
make that NIL money. Right?
No, nobody's staying 5 years in college basketball right now unless you don't have a spot, and that he didn't have a spot in the league. So
same can be said for Zach Edey.
Of course, Zach Edey's a 7-foot guy that's an archaic dinosaur. Yeah, he's gonna dominate in college basketball. That is no spot in the NBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but look what he did when he was with the Canadian team, though. He averaged like 6 points, 4 rebounds.
Of course.
Like, against professional players, and they're not all NBA players either, so he struggled.
Of course, man. I mean, the days of those guys, those centers really died off when DeAndre Jordan started to fall off. You don't see a lot of guys like that anymore. If you can, unless, like the last big man that you can think of, and I know there's some guys sprinkled in here and there, but you think of Minnesota, they sold everything to get a rim protector and Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert is the elite type of rim protector. He blocks a lot of shots. That trade was terrible. We know that. Too many first-round picks. But he is a premier center for that. Not going to score a lot of buckets in terms of, like, finesse moves, but he'll get you some dunks. But that doesn't exist as much in the NBA today. It's just not effective because it's run and gun.
I was going to say, the prototypical center that you need nowadays, in my opinion, is Bam Adebayo.
Oh, yes. That man can jump out the gym and shoot a three.
Right. He can run the floor. He can pass the ball. He can shoot mid-range. He can shoot long-range. He can rebound. He blocks shots. Like,
he does everything.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, man. Hey, so we got something fun we're going to be doing. Obviously, baseball's coming. It's already started with spring training. I mean, we're starting to see some good stuff. Did you see the Tigers
score today?
Yeah, we lost by like a couple touchdowns or whatever. Wasn't good. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, man. It was tough. But listen, it doesn't matter. I just want to. I mean, listen, I don't want to lose by, that many runs. But
spring training, first game, so I mean, there's some rust to work out there.
Right.
To give up 22 runs, it's kind of laughable.
It ain't good. It ain't good, man.
No matter what level.
I mean, I love seeing the Dodgers lose or win the other. I'm sorry. I love seeing the Padres lose by like 12 runs, but I hated that it was the Dodgers doing it to them.
They just came out.
Well, they had like
raking in that first.
They had Fernando Tatis Jr. on a mic, bro, and then they just put up 8 runs on him. At the end of that, they were like, "Thanks for joining us, Fernando." He didn't even say anything. They were just laughing because they were like, "This dude's annoyed." I mean. that's tough. But hey, speaking of baseball, we got something fun here. What we're gonna do, we're not gonna spend a lot of time in talking about why we said each player. We'll talk about that after. But I want to do is go through your top 10, and then my top 10, and then we'll talk about them a little bit. But you want me to start, or you want to start? How you want to do this?
Go ahead, you can start.
Okay, I will start. So my top 10. You want me to start from 10 or 1?
Are we doing NL first or AL?
Well, I mean, I just went for all of baseball with this list.
I didn't.
It gives you a little bit more time to think about it. All right. So I'm going to start from 1 and go to the bottom.
I'll do 10 back. No, work backwards. 10 to 1.
Well, this list that I'm doing is going to have to be like that. So, we can. Well, actually, that's fine. We can do that list. So I'll go back from 10 and work my way back. So at number 10, I got Zach Gallen. Number 9, Logan Webb of the Giants. Number 8, Justin Verlander, former Tiger, Houston Astro. Number 7, I love this dude, Zach Wheeler. Got him at number 7. Number 6, a Cy Young candidate, really where he's at with the Blue Jays, Kevin Gausman. Number 5, maybe my favorite pitcher in baseball, Spencer Strider.
He was number 1. He was number 1 on my NL list.
Fair enough, yeah. Number 4, a guy that's not even on a team right now, but I believe in him. He won the Cy Young last year, Blake Snell. Number 3, this dude is awesome. He throws 97 mile an hour, Luis Castillo with the Mariners. Yep. Number 2, just got traded from the Brewers to the Orioles, Corbin Burns. And my number 1 pitcher in all of baseball, I hate to say it, people, but he's on the New York Yankees, and it's Garrett Cole because he's absolutely filthy.
Right.
So those are my 10. Go ahead and give your 10, unless you want me to talk about some of these guys and why I did, because you want me to give you some more time?
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right,
so my number 10 is a guy who kind of came out of nowhere last year. Not a lot of people are going to know this name outside of the Seattle area. I did put a Mariner on there.
Okay.
George Kirby.
George Kirby, young guy. I think he's like 24, 25 from the left side, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolute stud. Came out of nowhere. Absolutely love his off-speed pitch. I love everything about what the way he throws the ball. My number 9 is going to be Aaron Nola.
Ooh, got some money this offseason.
Yeah, I like Aaron Nola. He's had some up and down years. He pitched pretty well last year. ERA was still kind of a little higher than what I'd like it to be, but solid year overall. Mm-hmm. My number 8 is going to be Max Scherzer. Okay,
even with the injury, huh?
Even with the injury, the injury aside, he still had a 13-6 record last year. A sub 4 ERA.
Okay.
And he's a World Series champion, so you got to have some representation there. I feel like my number 7 is one higher than your spot for him. I have Justin Verlander there.
Okay, that seems like a little bit of biasness because they're former Tigers, but I won't give you a hard time.
I mean, there's an argument for JV to be top 3 still. I mean, his age, everything. You know what I mean? So I'll try to keep the bias out of it, but there's just some arms in the league that are better at this point in time. Now this next one at number 6 is just off of straight potential, and I love the way he started last year though, and that's Mitch Keller.
Mitch Keller, interesting. He got a big deal from the Pirates.
Yes, I love Mitch Keller. I love it, dude. I love Mitch Keller. That's coming from a division rival as a Cubs fan. Like, I love Mitch Keller.
Yep, he's a good player.
My number 5, that's where I have Zach Gallen.
Okay.
I have Zach Gallen there.
He's a great player. Great player.
My number 4 is going to be Zach Eflin.
That's not the Zach I thought you were going with. Okay.
Zach Eflin. Tampa Bay gets no love, and he's an absolute stud. Like, and people are going to be like, who is that? Because no one watches the Rays, but the dude's an absolute stud.
Okay.
My number 3, this might surprise some people, and this is going to show some bias. I have Justin Steele there. I don't care what anybody says. The dude's an absolute stud. He got hardly any run support, and he put up 16 wins with a sub 3.1 ERA.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely in the conversation for me, for sure.
So I have him top 3. Call it bias, call it whatever you want, but the numbers don't lie.
It's biased, but yeah, I get you.
My number 2, that's where I have Spencer Strider. And
Yeah,
then
he's
my
filthy.
my number 1, I'm right there with you with Garrett Cole.
Why? Okay, so here now I'm going to talk about some of your lists because your list is a little controversial. Okay,
100%.
I went,
One, I'm gonna tell you something for Corbin Burns. I did not put him on the list because one thing that I've noticed for pitchers switching leagues, Max Scherzer, Diamondbacks to the Tigers, Tigers back to the Mets. They struggle when they switch leagues.
yeah,
Pitchers tend to struggle when they switch leagues, so that kind of eliminated Burns for me, based on that alone.
Corbin
Now,
Burns.
could he prove me wrong? 100% he could, because he's an absolute stud. Don't get me wrong. I need to see it first.
Let's talk about some of the other guys you didn't leave on there. Okay, I'm going to start with Kevin Gausman. The fact that you left him on, he was a Cy Young contender last year.
Yep.
Blake Snell, I'll give you a pass because he only goes 5 innings.
Well, no, I'll tell you this. I didn't even consider Snell or Ohtani because Snell's he's not on a roster, and Ohtani's not pitching this year.
Okay, no Louis Castillo.
No, I don't think he's the best pitcher on the Mariners. I think that's George Kirby.
Numbers would disagree, but you're going on potential a lot on some of your guys, and that's
George
fine.
Kirby was 13-10 with a 3.35 ERA.
What was Castillo's numbers? Let's pull them up. I'm going to pull it up right now, live, because I'm curious to see. Okay, give me Kirby's numbers.
13-10 with a 3.35.
Okay, 14-9 with a 3.34 for Louis Castillo. So 219 Ks.
So they're very similar then.
Right. Yeah, I just I would go by the resume, and he's definitely got a longer resume. So we're going by and there's nothing wrong about your list or my list or whatever. My list is the way that I go about mine is what have you done? Yours is kind of like a little bit more potential. I love that.
Yep, 100%.
Another guy, I do believe that.
Well, if it wasn't based off potential, Clint Kershaw would be number 1 then.
Well, not
based on the resume, what you just said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's long career. But a guy that's still doing it, Kershaw's not still doing it. He breaks down. He was
13-5 with the 2.46 ERA.
Yeah, but he goes 4 innings. It feels like he just doesn't go long enough. You know what I mean? And in terms of injury, he's always injured. He didn't sign with his team until late. No Logan Webb on your list?
No.
Why no Logan Webb? Just curious.
One, I think there's a lot better pitchers out there. I mean, there's some pitchers right here. Like I have the top 10. I've broke it down top 10 for each league. He's not even in the top 10.
So I'm gonna give you Logan Webb's numbers. Okay.
I know what they are. I looked at all of them earlier. That's how I got all these numbers.
So
I've seen them all.
11-13 with a 3.25 ERA. So like for me, and then when you got, he's got 200 strikeouts near them for that's good numbers, and he's 27 years old. I think it's solid, man. I really do. The problem is this list, we're coming up with names that with the top 10 could be interchangeable.
Oh, 100%. Like
pitching is deep.
The next person we talk to, their list is going to be even different. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Right.
So, but the big thing for me, what you said is the record, 11-13. Like, what does that tell me?
Well,
it tells me that he doesn't get run support often, and that's a big thing as being a pitcher. If you're not going to get run support, you need to go out there and be electric. And 11-13.
I don't know, man. I think that's the most overrated stat for a pitcher is record, because I think, you can be, for example, if you want to look at who the Tigers signed with a 5 ERA, but the guy had a lot of run support or whatever, is a former St. Louis Cardinal. Help me out here.
Wainwright?
No. Tigers signed him, man, this offseason.
Oh, the Tigers signed Jack Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty. I mean, Jack Flaherty, let me pull up his name. He didn't have good numbers, but because he got $14 million,
right.
8-9, so that's not even good. But a 4.99 ERA.
I think it's going to be even worse with the
Tigers.
Hate that. Because again,
that's going to be terrible.
Any run support.
Well, not even that, man. But like, I could see this guy. What I'm curious is to see how many hits he gave up, because one thing we know about Comerica, you're going to give up a lot of hits if you did in Baltimore. Baltimore, okay, smaller outfield there.
Yeah, Comerica's like a speedster's like dream, doubles and triples ballpark. So if you're like Ellie De La Cruz or something, like you're just salivating. You go in there.
Yeah, I mean, and I see that being. So let's talk about this, Josh. What Detroit Tigers pitcher would be on the list in terms of potential in baseball right now at starting pitcher? In my opinion, this is a no-brainer, and I think it's Tarek Skubal.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because this is what I wanted to talk about on our last podcast that we just couldn't get to. But I seen an interesting stat regarding Tariq Skubal.
Okay,
and I'm gonna give you a list of guys that I personally feel are better than him in the AL, just the AL alone, just the AL alone.
Okay,
we're talking Jacob deGrom if fully healthy.
Okay,
we're talking about Framber Valdez. And we're talking about Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Zach Eflin, Garrett Cole. Based on numbers last year, Chris Bassett, 16-8 with a 3.6.
Bassett's good, man. Yeah, he's a baller.
We're talking about, the Mariners trio of, Castillo, Kirby, those guys who I feel could be better than him. We're talking about Pablo Lopez potentially over the Twins being better than him. He went 11-8 with a 3.66. So my point is with this, the article that I seen has Tariq Skubal as the 7th best odds of being the AL Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
I just named 12 guys right there. Who are you taking off? Who's 5 guys you're taking off that list to put him there?
I mean,
that's crazy to me.
7-3 with a 2.80 ERA.
ERA is phenomenal, but again, that's where the run support comes into play, though, because for an award like that, you have to have the support and track up the wins.
Not true.
I just don't understand the love for him when it comes to the preseason.
Okay, so
love there.
Hernandez, help me out. Former Seattle Mariner. Felix Hernandez. His record, not good at all when he won the Cy Young. Let's see, numbers. And that was an argument for a lot of people. Oh, he doesn't have the wins. He hasn't done much. I think he had, let's see. He was so that year, King Felix got 21 of 28 first place votes. Okay, Price was 19-6 with a 2.72 ERA. Felix only had 13 wins, so it was the fewest from a Cy Young winner in a full season.
What was his ERA? What was the strikeout? What was his WHIP?
Well, no, his ERA was great, but that's my point. Record does not mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I don't think that run support is just not their fault. If you have a good bullpen, your offense sucks.
Were the Mariners better that year than I believe the Red Sox? You said David Price.
David Price at that point, he was with the Rays.
The Rays still.
Yeah, he's with the Rays.
Who had the better record that year? Because team success does also play a factor.
I know, but my whole point is record means nothing. I don't really think it means anything. It's not his fault, man. If your bullpen sucks and you can't hold a lead or your offense doesn't score, how is that a pitcher's fault?
No, I 100% agree, but he has to do his job though. Like,
of course,
he can't go 5 innings. If I'm a manager, I'm sorry, I need you to go 6, 7 minimum.
Well, of course, but that's why I don't think Snell should have won the Cy Young last year. He went 5 innings his starts. He averaged 5 1/3.
Like, he's arguably the Tigers' number 1. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I agree.
Years old, I can't have my number 1 going 5 innings time and time again. I need 6, 7.
Well, I think he's going to do that, but the problem is with his team, they were so freaking bad. So what they did was they said we're not, and he had so many injuries. He's always hurt.
No,
so they were like, we're just gonna play this easy right now. So, to your point, if he goes out there and he averages 6, 7 innings, yeah, he's going to be in the conversation. But
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
But at the end of the day, if the Tigers go out there and go 74-88, like, he's not going to be in the conversation. Even if he goes 16.
And I'm one that believes that an honor like that, an MVP award, a Cy Young, your team can't be bad. I mean, that's part of it. And, that's where, record matters in the sense of that, right? Because you're not going to pick a guy. Unfortunately, you probably are not going to vote for a guy that's, 8-16 with a 2.897 ERA. You'll be like, wow, that's an incredible ERA, but you're going to say something's wonky about that, right? And I get that. And he probably doesn't go enough. And then you have to start looking at innings pitched, when he gave up those runs. So, because if you're giving up a run in, say, the 5th inning when it's scoreless and, and it clutch times every time, then you're not a gamer, right? Like, I know you're a great pitcher, but you're not an MVP or a Cy Young, right? So
Right.
I'm
Oh,
with
yeah,
you.
no, I agree for sure. But I mean, I just found that very interesting.
That is very interesting. I
that he
mean,
had the seventh best odds, and he hasn't really done much in his career up until the second half of last year. So I just find it very odd.
I find it very interesting too because here's the thing. I don't think that this team's going to be good. I want it to be good. I
I
want
mean,
the
you
Tigers
also
to be good.
are you backtracking on your division win?
Well, I think they can win the division, but are they good? This division's awful. I mean,
I
like you
mean,
could. I feel like you could win 85 games and win this division, and
oh
that's
yeah,
sad.
100%. No, I
Like,
agree.
can you, here, I'll answer this. Let's talk about the teams in this division, okay?
The Twins,
The
White Sox,
Twins,
Guardians, the Royals.
Twins may be the best team with the Tigers. White Sox not any good. They just lost their shortstop too for $5 million, which I know he was terrible last year, but $5 million for Tim Anderson, he's gonna bounce back, dude.
Yeah,
That's crazy, stupid that the White Sox didn't bring him back.
especially in the NL is. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like the NL is where the worst pitching.
Right, of
I mean,
course.
don't get me wrong. There's stud pitching. There's stud pitchers in the NL, but I feel like the bulk of the studs are in the AL.
Yeah, and then let's go down more teams. Okay, we just said White Sox, blah. Okay,
Guardians.
Royals, maybe the worst team in baseball, right?
A's, and the
who?
Nationals. A's and Nationals.
Well, the A's and Nationals aren't in the Tigers division.
No, well, you said baseball. You said
No,
maybe
I'm
the
talking
worst team in
about
baseball.
our division in terms of are the Tigers going to win the division?
No. Yeah.
It's going to be between Detroit and Minnesota. Somebody that wins 85 games will be in there, and then whoever's in second place is not getting that wild card. It's not going to happen, right? So
No, I agree.
I don't know, man. I mean, can you win the division and still not be a good team? I think so,
Well, the one thing the Tigers have going for them, they won 78 games last year,
which is
and
pretty freaking good for them.
and only 4 of their everyday players actually played 100 plus games. So
No, I mean that to me is a testament of their manager. I think he did the best with what he had.
The managers, their minor league system,
Of course.
yeah, 100% agree with you. So I mean, if they can just put 6 or 7 of those guys into 100 games, over 100 games, 125, 130 games this year, I do feel like they have a good chance.
Yeah.
It's obviously going to depend on that 2 through 5 in the rotation. I do feel like Screwball will have a good year. I just don't know if it's going to be Cy Young worthy.
Yeah, same. If he's Cy Young worthy, we're winning that division, in my opinion, because there's some other guys. And I think, honestly, a big wild card for me this year is Casey Mize. I really, really, really hope he works out, man, because
I mean, to me, this is make or break it for him this year.
100%. Dude, 100%.
Like,
And there's a lot of guys like that.
You haven't pitched in 2 years. Like you're healthy. Like let's be honest. You should be healthy by this point.
I think
if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Reese Olson too, like if he can come out there and get all I need from him as my 5th is just to have a 4 ERA or somewhere around there, 4 or 5.
He was the one that got shelled today.
Well, of course, but it doesn't bother me that much because it doesn't mean as much. Is it a little scary? I don't want my pitcher to give up 20 runs, right? Like I don't know how many runs he gave up today, but like at the same time,
his ERA was 10.8 today,
which like we know baseball numbers. Hey, it's not good, but if it's going to happen, I'd rather it happen in spring training. You don't know if he's working on another pitch or what. But we got about 5 minutes here. I want to switch topics, Josh. I want to talk about the Detroit Red Wings because my gosh, have they been playing out their dang mind lately? Let's just look at some of their numbers, and I want to get into some of those key players. Right now, they're 31, 21, and 6. They got 68 points. They won 4 in a row. Their longest streak since a 5-game run back. That was in October 14th through the 22nd. They moved 3 points ahead of Tampa Bay in the first wild card spot and created an 8-point cushion over the other teams underneath of them. That is awesome, man. I really believe this team's going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be dangerous. When you score 6 goals in a game and they look as good as they did in the power play with Patty Kane, DeBrincat with a hat trick, dude, this team has a lot of firepower, and they just signed Rasmussen, who had a goal today. There's a lot of to like about this team, right?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, over their last 10, they're 7-2-1, which is always good this time of year. Playoffs are approaching. So
Yep.
You got to be playing some hot hockey. However, I will say there's 25 games left on the season.
Of course.
8 division games. You got to take care of the division first. It's close to the playoffs.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, their schedule is a gauntlet down the stretch.
Yeah, of course, man. It's
a
going to be
gauntlet.
tough.
It's a gauntlet down the stretch. But the one thing that they do have going for them, like you said, I'd be damned if we were able to find a better scoring trio than what the Red Wings have.
Dude.
With Patrick Kane, DeBrincat, and Larkin.
And there's so much depth. And here's the thing. We knew DeBrincat had played with Patty Kane with the Blackhawks, right? So that's why he came here. And Patrick Kane has said nothing but positive things about Detroit. He said, man, this is a playoff atmosphere. This team, we really have a chance to make some noise. I believe it 100%. And look, they got so much depth, man. Today, and he's back. He was out for a little while. Robbie Fabry, who we got from the Blues a few years ago. JT Comper scored. Lucas Raymond chipped in a couple assists. He looked good today. Lyon looked good in net a few days ago. Reimer was in there today. The Reimer-Lyon, it's been working for them. DeBrincat, as I mentioned, 21 goals. He's reached 20 goals for the sixth time in his 7 seasons. Patty Kane, we were talking about before, 26 points in 26 games. Really, man. And then a lot of the love goes to these players. Derek Lalonde, their coach there, he's been incredible. Steve Yzerman putting this thing together, man. The Yzer plan. It took a few years, but I really, really love the direction of this team, man. Imagine if they did have an elite goalie, because we know the guys they have there, they're just holding the spot warm right now. But they do have a guy in the minor leagues, Sebastian Cossa. He's killing it for Grand Rapids. I'm excited about that. That's a first-round pick at goalie, which what have they been missing during all these years since Yzerman's come here? It's goaltending.
It's a goalie, yeah.
Right?
No, 100%. It's funny how Detroit fan base is kind of hot and cold with Yzerman, because just a year ago they were calling for his head, like, this ain't working, get him out of here.
Not me, man. I love the guy.
I agree. I agree 100%. Like, he's Detroit royalty, like, for what he did for the Wings in the 90s. So I was willing to give him at least the 3 to 5 year plan, and right now I believe we're year 4.
Yeah, I mean
so it's definitely working. He's brought in the right free agent pieces, and DeBrincat. He brought in Patrick Kane. He's signed some of these guys who necessarily might not be, honestly, a rotational piece on other championship teams.
Right.
So I like what he's doing, and I like where they're at. So
I don't know what was the money on that Rasmussen contract. I know, what is it, like 4 years or something?
It was 4 years. I think it was only like $12.5 million. It was so cheap.
So he was a former first-round pick for them a few years back. And, he's not a guy that's going to score 30 goals a year, but he does a lot of good things. He likes being here. And that's the thing about Detroit. It's becoming hockey town again, man. Guys are loving it. They're enjoying it. The atmosphere is lit. I think because the Lions are good, it even helps the Red Wings, right? You hear Jared Goff chanting. It was there. It was happening again today. They did that again.
Ben Johnson was there today. He rang.
I love it, man.
Today,
McCarty was there yesterday. He had the mohawk going. Mac looks good, man.
I mean, I'll take a piss poor, Detroit Pistons team if the other 3 teams are good.
That's what I'm saying. And this is piss poor. This is bad. Because we don't even talk about them much because there ain't much to say. But I tell you, man, I think that is just, for me, that is proof that, listen, you can have a great coach, but you damn well better have some good players to go with it, because look at the Pistons. That's a top coach right there. Piss poor players. You got a couple good players on that team, which we know of. There's a couple untouchables, and the rest of the team, you can flush it. It's just not good, and the GM has been bad there, but I digress. I love the direction of this team, man. We're starting to see young guys really blossom with this Wings. And it's fun, man. It feels like the old days when the Wings were winning cups and won like 30 games in a row. And we took it for granted a lot of times as fans, because we're like, man, this team is so, so good. And then they were just in the crapper for some years.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. Like, we went to the game a couple weeks ago, and like I almost said the Joe. Little Caesars Arena was absolutely rocking. Like
It was.
the fans were into it. It was good hockey. It was physical.
Chanting Jared Goff, right?
Chanting Jared Goff. Like there was fighting involved. Like that's how you know a team cares. Like when
Yeah.
they're fighting. When's the last time you seen a Red Wings fight? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, they never had the physicality.
these players care. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like that just goes to show, based on the way they're playing, the way they're buying into the system, the way they're buying into Yzerman. Like I'll take 2-3 years of losing to win for the next 10 to 12. When the plan comes together. So I applaud Yzerman for what he's doing and the way he's gone about it.
Love it, man. Love the Yzer plan. Love the podcast, man. This was a good one. This is fun. Next podcast, I believe tomorrow. We got to pick a position. Josh, throw one out there for our top 10.
Baseball. Let's talk some center field.
Center field. Now, not just AL, or we can do AL and NL top 10, or we can just do baseball's top 10.
We can just do top 10.
Let's just do top 10 because center field might be one of those. It's like once you get to 10, if you're doing both leagues, you're like, I mean, I'm throwing
You're talking about people that don't deserve to be.
We're throwing in like Taylor in there, right? From
Chris Taylor, right?
Well, not even Chris Taylor.
Michael Taylor.
Michael Taylor. I think he's better than Chris Taylor. But he had like 21 bombs last year, which a lot of people don't remember. But that's just the nerd of me coming out. So, listen, we'd like to geek out. That's what we do on this podcast.
For the love of the game.
For the love of the game, right? Also, want to have a top 10 list tomorrow of worst sports movies. Okay, so we're gonna have a top 10 list of worst sports movies. So that's gonna be tough. Draft day might make the list. Just putting it out there. Just want to throw one out there with Kevin Costner. Well, I'm gonna flush that one. So unrealistic, and I hate it. But I digress. We'll get to some of that. So
I mean, it's unrealistic in the sense that it's the Browns, but
oh man, yeah, exactly. the Browns. Clarky, any words before we go?
No, brother. I enjoy the conversation, man. Look forward to tomorrow at 11 a.m.
A man of few words, 11 a.m., and a man of few words you never are, just this moment. So we'll let that one slide. Yeah, man. I got to go and help put together some baby stuff. I don't even know what it is, right?
I'll say, well, a couple months away, Daddy.
Couple months away. I'm gonna be changing diapers before the podcast, so we'll see.
Brother.
I've been looking forward to it for years. So, all right. Well, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Clarky, we'll see you later, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Peace.